You used it? I was standing in the kitchen with my bank app open, hands trembling, staring at a balance that made no sense. 0. My savings account was empty. My name's Sasha, and I'd spent 2 years waitressing double shifts and skipping meals to save for one thing: surgery. A laparoscopic procedure to treat endometriosis. Not cosmetic. Not optional. Just the only thing keeping me from waking up every morning feeling like my uterus was trying to kill me. And now, it was gone. I turned the phone screen toward my mom like it was evidence in a trial. "Where is it?" She didn't even flinch. Just kept stirring her stupid chamomile tea like we were talking about the weather. "Sweetheart, calm down. You're being dramatic." "Mom, where is my money?" She sighed and finally looked up. "We gave it to your brother." I blinked. "You what?" "For his trip. Europe. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Sasha. He's never had the chance to see the world." I couldn't breathe. "That was my surgery fund. You knew that. You knew—" "Nigel deserves something good." She cut in, voice soft, like she was explaining bedtime rules to a toddler. "You're strong. You'll figure something out." I don't remember sitting down, but suddenly I was on the floor, knees hitting tile. The room tilted sideways. I felt like I was going to throw up. "You stole from me." "It's not stealing," she said, frowning. "We're family." I heard the front door open and close. Footsteps. Then Nigel strolled in, grinning, sunglasses on his head like he was already in Ibiza. "Yo, Sasha, thanks for the assist," he said, tossing his keys on the counter. "I owe you one." I stared at him. "You knew?" He shrugged. "Mom said you'd be cool with it. I mean, come on. You've been saving forever. It's not like you're dying." I stood up. "I'm in pain every day. You think I saved for fun? Oh my God." He groaned, rolling his eyes. "Why do you always make everything about you?" "Because it is about me." My voice cracked. "That money was mine." Dad walked in behind him, unbothered as usual. "What's all this yelling?" "She found out," Mom said with a little shrug. Dad looked at me like I was a problem he'd forgotten to solve. "Sasha, don't be selfish. Your brother's never had a real break. This trip could change his life." "Change his life?" I laughed, but it came out like a sob. "I was trying to save mine." "You're being emotional," he said, like that was a bad thing. "You'll figure something out. You always do." I looked around at the three of them, the golden boy, the enabler, and the man who never once asked if I was okay. "You're unbelievable," I whispered. Nigel smirked. "Are you seriously going to be mad about this forever?" I didn't answer. I just walked to my room, packed a duffel bag, and left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I didn't cry until I got to Bridget's apartment and she opened the door in her pajamas, eyes wide. "What happened?" "They took it," I said, and then I broke. Bridget held me while I shook. She didn't ask questions, just let me fall apart. We sat on her couch at 2 a.m., both of us wrapped in blankets, my face raw from crying. I showed her the screenshots, the empty account, the texts from my mom pretending like nothing was wrong. "They said I should be proud of him," I whispered. "That he deserves joy." "And you don't?" Bridget asked. I didn't answer. I didn't know how. The next day, I called the clinic and cancelled my surgery consult. Then I called them again and asked if they had any financial aid or trial programs. They didn't, but they gave me a number to try. And another one. And another. It took weeks, but I found a research hospital in Chicago running a study. They'd cover most of the costs if I qualified. Bridget helped me apply. I never went back home. A month later, I got an email from my mom. No subject line. Just, "Are you still mad about the money? You need to let it go. Nigel sent you photos from Prague. Isn't it amazing how happy he looks?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I hit delete. That surgery wasn't optional. Every day of waiting after that theft was pain multiplied by betrayal. I showed up at the house 2 weeks later, not because I wanted to, but because I needed answers. Closure. Something. Mom opened the door with a smile like I was a guest she hadn't seen in years. "Oh, you look thin," she said, pulling me into a hug I didn't return. "Are you eating? You know stress burns through calories." I stepped past her. "Where's Dad?" "In the den. Nigel's packing. He leaves next week." I walked straight into the den. Dad was in his recliner, watching a golf tournament like nothing had happened. "You stole from me," I said. He didn't even mute the TV. "We already talked about this." "No. You talked. I was too shocked to respond. So now I'm talking." He sighed, and finally turned the volume down. "Sasha, I don't know what you want from us. We made a decision. It was hard for everyone. It wasn't hard for me. It was hell." He stood up, arms crossed. "You think this was easy for us? Watching you spiral like this?" "I'm not spiraling. I'm surviving. You stole my savings for a surgery I needed. That's not a hard decision. That's theft." Mum walked in behind me. "Don't be dramatic." "Stop saying that," I snapped. "It's not dramatic to be angry you prioritized a vacation over my health." "It wasn't a vacation," Nigel said, appearing in the doorway with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. "It's a cultural experience. You wouldn't understand." I turned slowly to face him. "You're right. I don't understand how someone can watch their sister suffer and still take everything she has." "Oh, come on," he groaned. "You think you're the only one with problems? I'm under a lot of pressure too." "You're going to Europe," I said flatly. "Yeah, and that comes with expectations. Networking, planning." "Networking?" I laughed. "You're going to bars and hostels." He rolled his eyes. "You're so negative." Dad stepped between us. "That's enough. Sasha, we're having dinner tonight. Your mother's making roast. Sit down, eat, and let's move past this." "No," I said. "I'm not staying." Mom's face dropped. "You're not coming to dinner?" "I'm not staying in this house another minute." She blinked. "But it's family dinner." "You're not my family." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Dad's jaw tightened. "If you're going to bring this kind of energy into our home, maybe it's better you don't come around." I nodded slowly. "Thanks for the clarity." I turned and walked out. No tears this time, no shaking, just a quiet, pulsing rage that settled in my chest like a second heartbeat. Bridget was waiting in the car. She looked at me as I slid into the passenger seat. "Well?" "They told me I bring negative energy." She snorted. "That's rich." I stared out the window. "I'm done with them." "Good," she said. "Now, let's get you that surgery." It took 3 months to get into the trial program. I had to fly to Chicago twice for evaluations. I stayed with a friend of Bridget's cousin to save money. I worked nights at a diner and days at a medical office doing admin work. When the approval email came, I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. The surgery was rough. Recovery was worse. But I made it through. Bridget was there when I woke up, holding my hand. "You did it," she whispered. I nodded, tears leaking from the corners of my eyes. "Yeah, I did." Back at her apartment, I lay on the couch for days, too sore to move much. She brought me soup and pain meds and sat with me through the nightmares. One afternoon, my phone buzzed. From Mom. Subject: None. "Hope you're feeling better. Nigel sent a photo from Prague. He's having the time of his life. You should be happy for him. He always looked up to you." I showed Bridget. She read it, then looked at me. "You gonna respond?" I shook my head. I think I'm done responding. She smiled. Good. Let's block their emails. I hesitated. Then I hit the buttons. Block, block, block. It didn't erase what they did, but it gave me a little space to breathe. Weeks passed. I started walking more, eating better. I got a raise at the clinic and finally moved into a studio apartment. Tiny, but mine. Every now and then, I'd get a letter, handwritten. No return address, always from my mom. I never opened them. One day, Bridget came over with takeout and found me throwing them into a shoebox. You keeping those for a bonfire? She asked. Maybe, I said. She grinned. Let me know. I'll bring marshmallows. I smiled for the first time in a while. I wasn't healed, not yet. But I was healing, and I was nowhere near done. The first time I met Graham, I had stitches in my abdomen and a heating pad tucked under my shirt. Bridget had dragged me to a small get-together at her co-worker's place. I didn't want to go. I still moved like I was 90 and felt worse, but she insisted. Just come for an hour, she said, pushing a jacket into my arms. You've been cooped up for weeks. You need to remember what people sound like. So I went. I sat on a worn couch with a glass of ginger ale, mostly watching people talk. That's when he walked in, tall, clean-cut, wearing jeans that actually fit right and a navy sweater. He had this calm energy, like nothing could rattle him. He nodded at me as he passed, then doubled back. You okay? He asked. I blinked. What? You're sitting like someone stabbed you. I laughed, then winced. Close. Surgery. Ah, that explains the heating pad peeking out. I looked down. Damn, I thought I hit it. He smiled. You did better than most. We talked. Nothing deep, just light stuff. Books, music, the weird way people always end up in the kitchen at parties. He didn't ask what kind of surgery I had. Didn't make a face when I said I'd been recovering for weeks. Just nodded like it made sense. Before he left, he handed me a napkin with his number on it. Text me if you ever want to sit awkwardly on another couch and judge people's Spotify playlists. I didn't text him for 2 weeks. Then I did. Our first date was coffee. I told him about the surgery, about endometriosis, about how I'd lived with pain for years because no one took me seriously. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix it, just listened. You've been through hell, he said. I nodded. Yeah. And they took your savings? Every cent. He leaned back. That's not just cruel, that's calculated. I looked at him. You're not going to say something like, family's complicated? Nope, he said. Some people weaponize blood ties. Doesn't make it sacred. I stared at him for a second. Then I smiled. We started seeing each other more. Slowly. I wasn't in a rush. But he made it easy. He never pushed. Just showed up with takeout and asked how I was feeling. He'd walk with me when I was sore, cook when I was too tired. And once, when I had a breakdown over a medical bill, he just held me while I sobbed into his shirt. One night, we were sitting in my apartment eating pad thai on the floor when he asked, Do you ever think about confronting them? Every day, I said. What would you want to say? I paused. I don't want to say anything. I want them to feel it, the weight of what they did. I want them to regret it. He nodded. That's fair. I looked at him. You're a lawyer, right? He grinned. Yeah. Good, I said. I might need one someday. He raised his glass. Whenever you're ready. In the meantime, I kept building. I took on more hours at the clinic, got promoted to office manager, started a side hustle helping small practices set up billing systems, opened my first investment account with $500 and a lot of Googling. Graham helped me set up a spreadsheet to track my progress. I called it Rebuild Fund. Every holiday season, I got the same emails from my parents. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Hope you're doing well. Nigel's in Amsterdam this year. So cultured. We miss you. I never responded. Bridget and I started our own traditions. Cheap wine, bad movies, and a pact to never spend a single holiday with people who made us feel small. One night, Graham and I were walking back from dinner when he stopped under a street lamp. "They'll come back," he said. I looked at him. "What? Your parents? Your brother? One day they'll need something. They'll pretend nothing happened. Try to act like it's all water under the bridge." I crossed my arms. "And?" He smiled. "Just make sure you're the one in the high chair." I didn't say anything, but something shifted in me then. I wasn't the girl on the kitchen floor anymore. I was the woman building her own table, and one day they'd come knocking, and I'd be ready. It started with a text from my cousin Leah. Did you hear about Nigel? Barcelona. It's bad." I stared at the screen, heart still, fingers cold. I hadn't heard his name in over a year, and now it was back like a bad rash. I texted back, "What happened?" "Arrested. Drugs. Debt. Something with that Teddy guy. Your mom's losing it." I didn't reply. 2 days later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find my parents standing there like ghosts. Simone clutched her purse like it was a life vest. Robert looked thinner, older, but the same cold eyes. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, voice trembling. I didn't move. "What do you want?" We wanted to talk," she said. "Can we come in?" I stepped aside. Let them walk into my apartment. My space. My walls. My couch. My rules. They sat down like they owned the place. Robert looked around. "You've done well for yourself." I stayed standing. "Is he in jail?" Simone nodded quickly. "Yes, Barcelona. It's a nightmare, Sasha. The charges are serious. He was set up." "By who?" She hesitated. "That Teddy boy. He disappeared. Left Nigel to take the fall." I crossed my arms. "And?" She blinked. "And he needs help." Robert cleared his throat. "We need help." I said nothing. Simone leaned forward. "You've built such a nice life. We're so proud of you." I laughed. "Proud? Yes," she said, eyes glassy. "You've always been so strong, so smart. We knew you'd land on your feet. You stole from me." Her lip quivered. "That was a mistake. We were just trying to give Nigel a chance." Robert cut in. "He's your brother. He needs us now. He's scared. Alone. And the legal fees—" "How much?" I asked. They paused. Simone looked at Robert. He nodded. 70,000, she said softly, to get him out. Maybe more for the trial. I whistled. "Wow. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't life or death," she said quickly. "We'll pay you back. Every cent." I tilted my head. "Like you paid me back for the surgery fund?" She winced. "We didn't know it would go that far. You didn't care." Robert stood up. "Look, Sasha, we're not here to fight. We're asking for your help. He's family." I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and drank it slowly. Let them sit in the silence. Then I turned around. "You hungry?" Simone blinked. "What?" "Dinner. I'll take you out. My treat." They looked at each other, confused but hopeful. "Really?" she said. "Sure," I said, smiling. "Let's go downtown. I know a place." We went to a sleek little restaurant with white tablecloths and wine glasses taller than my hand. Graham met us there in a navy suit, calm and collected. "This is Graham," I said. "My partner." Robert raised an eyebrow. "Partner?" "Lawyer," Graham added, shaking his hand. We ordered. We ate. They talked. I smiled, nodded, let them tell stories about Nigel as a child, about his potential, about how unfair the world was. Simone dabbed her eyes with a napkin. He just needs one more chance. After dessert, I reached into my purse and pulled out a folder, placed it gently on the table. "What's this?" Robert asked. I slid it toward him. "The Turner family account." He opened it, flipped through the pages, itemized losses, bank statements, therapy invoices, missed wages, emotional damages, stress interest, grand total, 112 and 315. Simone's face went pale. "What is this?" Graham leaned in. "A detailed record of what your daughter lost due to your actions." Robert looked up. "Is this a joke?" I stared him dead in the eye. "This is the cost of your family values." Simone's voice cracked. "You're charging us?" "No," I said. "I'm giving you a choice." Robert slammed the folder shut. "You can't be serious." "I'm dead serious," I said. "You pay me back, or you walk away, and don't ever contact me again." Simone looked at me with wide, wet eyes. "He could die in prison." I shrugged. "I survived without you. Let's see how he does." Robert stood. "We'll sue you." Graham smiled. "Oh, that would be wise. You want a jury to hear about how you stole your sick daughter's savings and used it to fund your son's drug-fueled vacation?" Robert's mouth opened, then closed. I stood up. "Dinner's on me. Think of it as interest." I walked out, Graham beside me, the night air sharp against my skin. He looked at me. "You good?" I nodded. "Let the accounting begin." The next morning, I got a text from my dad. "We need to talk. This is ridiculous." I didn't respond. Instead, I emailed them a scanned copy of the Turner family account. Same one I handed them at dinner, but with a new addition, a payment plan, 112,315, due in full or in monthly installments over 5 years, interest applied if late, legal representation listed at the bottom, Graham's firm. They didn't reply. 3 days went by. Then Simone showed up at my office. I was walking back from lunch, iced coffee in hand, when I saw her sitting in the lobby, dressed in beige and pearls, like she was going to a brunch, not begging for mercy. "Sasha," she said, standing up like we were old friends. I kept walking. "You can't be here. I just want to talk." "You've had years to talk. Please." Her voice cracked. "I'm your mother." I turned. "No, you're the woman who told me I'd thank you one day for losing my savings." "That's not fair." "I have the recording, Simone." Her mouth froze. "You recorded me?" "You bet I did. The day you told me I was being overly emotional about needing surgery, I saved every voicemail, every email, every lie." She looked around, flustered. "Can we go somewhere private?" "No," I said. "You want to talk? Talk here." She looked like she might cry. "We can't pay this. It's too much." "Then don't," I said. "But don't expect anything from me." She stepped closer. "He's your brother." I tilted my head. "And I was your daughter. That didn't stop you." She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I turned and walked away. That night, Graham poured me a glass of wine while I sat on the couch with my laptop. "You sure you want to go through with this?" he asked. I nodded. "They need to feel it." He leaned back. "You know, legally, you're on solid ground. You've got the paper trail, the audio, the witnesses. But emotionally, this is a war." "I know," I said, "but it's one they started." The next week, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a check for $5,000. First payment. No note. I showed Graham. He smiled. "Looks like they're taking the deal." I deposited it the next day. A month later, another check arrived. Then another. Every time I saw one, I felt something shift. Not joy, not revenge. Balance. One afternoon, Bridget came over while I was sorting receipts. She picked one up. "Therapy?" "Yeah," I said. I added it to the damages. She whistled. You really went full forensic accountant. They wanted a reckoning, I said. Now they've got one. She grinned. You're kind of scary. I love it. I laughed. I'm not scary. I'm just done being quiet. Later that week, I got a call from a restricted number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Nigel. His voice was hoarse, panicked. Hey, Sasha. I know we haven't talked, but I'm in a really bad place. I didn't know they took your money. I swear, I thought you were cool with it. Please, I need help. I'm scared. I stared at the screen, then hit delete. The next day, another email from Simone. We're doing our best. Can you lower the amount? Please. We're selling the house. I forwarded it to Graham. He replied, Let them sell it. So I did. A week later, I got a notice from their lawyer confirming the sale. A larger payment followed. $25,000. Graham and I sat at the kitchen table, going over the new totals. You know, he said, you could stop this any time. Forgive the rest. I looked at him. Do you think I should? He paused. I think you should do what gives you peace. I nodded. This gives me peace. He raised his glass. Then here's to peace. We clinked glasses. That night, I pulled out the old shoebox of letters, the ones Simone had sent me over the years. I took them to the fireplace. One by one, I fed them to the flames, watched them curl and blacken and disappear. No more apologies, no more pretending, just clean, earned silence. And that was worth every cent. I met them at the same restaurant, same table, same white tablecloths. This time, I wore a black blazer and heels that clicked on the floor like punctuation. Graham sat beside me, calm as ever, a leather folder in front of him. Simone and Robert looked tired. Simone's hair was thinner, her eyes puffier. Robert had a limp I hadn't noticed before. Maybe age, maybe guilt. They didn't order food, just water. I didn't smile. Thank you for coming, Simone said, voice soft. I nodded once. Robert cleared his throat. We've paid almost half. You've paid $38,000, I said. That's a third. He frowned. We sold the house. We're renting now. That should count for something. It does, I said. It counts toward the debt. Simone leaned forward. Sasha, please. We're drowning. We've done what you asked. Can't you meet us halfway? Graham opened the folder. Actually, she already did. She dropped the interest rate. That's a compromise. Robert's jaw tightened. You're enjoying this. No, I said. I'm documenting it. He scoffed. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said. Just smarter. Simone reached into her purse and pulled out a small USB drive. She placed it on the table like it was a peace offering. What's this? I asked. Everything, she said. Photos, videos, letters. From Nigel. While he was traveling, he wanted you to see them. He said he was sorry. I stared at the drive, didn't touch it. Did he say sorry before or after he got arrested? I asked. Simone flinched. Robert stood. We're not here to be humiliated. Graham didn't even blink. Then don't humiliate yourselves. Robert pointed at me. You're punishing your own family. I stood slowly, pushing my chair back. You want to talk punishment? I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone, tapped a few times. Here. I hit play. The audio was old, but clear. Simone's voice. You're being dramatic, Sasha. You'll thank us one day. Nigel deserves this. You're strong. You'll bounce back. Simone gasped. You recorded me? I looked her in the eye. You made me. Robert's face turned red. This is Lo. No, I said. Lo was stealing from your daughter when she was in pain. Lo was calling her selfish for needing surgery. Lo was pretending for years like nothing happened. They were quiet. I slid a new document across the table. This is the final agreement, Graham said. You pay the remaining balance in structured monthly payments. No more delays. No more negotiations. If you miss even one, we take it to court. Simone's hand shook as she signed. Robert hesitated. I leaned in. Or we can let a jury hear the recordings, the emails, the bank statements. Let them decide what kind of parents you are. He signed. I stood. We're done here. Simone looked up. Can we ever fix this? I paused. You can finish paying. That's all. Outside, the air was crisp. Graham slid his sunglasses on. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. I feel clean. He smiled. You were terrifying in there. I laughed. Good. That night, I plugged in the USB. I watched one video. Nigel on a beach, holding a beer, yelling something about freedom. Another of him in Rome, dancing with strangers. A photo of him on a yacht, sunglasses crooked. Teddy in the background, flipping off the camera. I ejected the drive and tossed it in the drawer. Let the past rot quietly. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Nigel's voice. Hey, I heard you've been helping. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I was stupid. I didn't know how bad I hurt you. Please, write back. Anything. Please. I played it twice. Then I deleted it. Later that week, Graham and I stood in the kitchen, sipping coffee. You think he'll change? He asked. No, I said. You think they will? No. He nodded. Then why bother? I looked at him. Because karma doesn't always come on its own. Sometimes you have to drive it there yourself. He raised his mug. To karma. I clinked mine against his. And spreadsheets. We laughed. And for the first time in years, I wasn't angry. I was free. The Barcelona prison smelled like bleach and sweat. I sat in a cold metal chair across from a glass partition, waiting. Then he walked in. Nigel, thinner, scruffier, his once slick hair now a greasy mess. He looked like someone had wrung him out and left him to dry in a cell. His eyes darted around until they landed on me. He froze. Sasha? His voice cracked through the phone on his side of the glass. I picked up mine. Hi, Nigel. He stared at me like I was a ghost. I didn't think you'd come, he said. I almost didn't. He swallowed hard. You look different. Yeah, healing will do that. He leaned forward. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what they did with your money. I thought you were cool with it. I swear. I raised an eyebrow. You thought I was okay with giving up my surgery so you could party across Europe. I didn't know how bad it was. Mom said, Don't quote Mom, I cut in. You were there. You saw me. You heard me crying in my room. You watched me limp around with a heating pad and thought I was just being dramatic. He looked down. I was stupid. Yeah, I said. You were. He looked up, eyes red. I'm not asking for money. I know I don't deserve it. I needed to see you. I needed to say it to your face. I didn't say anything. He pressed his palm against the glass. I messed up. I know that now. Teddy bailed. The drugs weren't even mine. I was just stupid enough to carry the bag. I've been here for months. No one visits. No one writes. I'm alone, Sasha. I looked at his hand, then back at his face. I know what alone feels like, I said. You taught me. He blinked. I never wanted to hurt you. You didn't care if you did. He wiped his nose with the back of his sleeve. Please, I'm begging. Help me. Just talk to the lawyer. Maybe write a letter to the judge. Anything. I reached into my bag. He perked up. I pulled out a photo. It was me, 6 months after surgery, standing on a hiking trail, smiling, healthy, alive. I held it up to the glass. This is what I paid for, with my own damn money, after you all took everything. He stared at it. I earned my healing, I said. Now you get to earn yours. His voice cracked. You won't help me? I just did, I said. I came here. I let you speak. That's more than you ever gave me. He looked shattered. You're not the same person. I stood. Exactly. I walked away without looking back. Outside, the sun was blinding. Graham was waiting by the car, leaning against it with his arms crossed. How'd it go? He asked. I climbed in. 15 minutes. That's all I gave him. He nodded. Fair. We drove in silence for a while. The city passed by in a blur of stone buildings and narrow streets. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. I just needed him to see what I became. He reached over and squeezed my hand. He saw it. Trust me. That night, I sat on the hotel balcony, watching the lights flicker across the city. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who begged to be seen, the one who cried alone in her room while her family toasted Nigel's adventures. She was gone, and I didn't miss her. Graham came out with 2 glasses of wine. To closure? He asked. I shook my head. To clarity. Closure's too soft. He smiled. To clarity. We clinked glasses, and for the first time in my life, I felt untouchable. I was pouring coffee in the kitchen when the letter arrived. Plain white envelope, no return address, same handwriting I'd seen 100 times before. Graham picked it up from the floor where it had slid under the door. Another one? I nodded, drying my hands. Yep. He held it out. You gonna read it? I took it, looked at the crease, then tossed it into the trash without opening it. That's a no, he said, smiling. That's a hell no. We were leaving for the airport in an hour. I zipped up my suitcase and glanced around the apartment one last time. Clean counters, folded laundry, a plant I hadn't killed yet. It didn't feel like a goodbye. It felt like a graduation. Bridget pulled up outside just as we were locking the door. She stepped out, arms open. You're really doing it. I hugged her tight. We're doing it. You helped build this. She pulled back, eyes glassy. You're gonna change lives, Sasha, I smiled. That's the plan. She handed me a little box. Don't open it until you land. I tucked it into my carry-on. Deal. The flight was long, but smooth. Graham slept most of the way. I stared out the window, watching clouds stretch like cotton pulled across the sky. At the new apartment, smaller, but with a view of the water, I opened Bridget's box. Inside was a silver bracelet. Simple, engraved on the inside. Family is who shows up. I sat on the edge of the bed, running my finger over the words. Graham walked in, suitcase in hand. You okay? I nodded. Yeah. He sat beside me. You ready for tomorrow? I exhaled. Let's do it. The auditorium wasn't huge, maybe 50 seats, all filled. Patients, caregivers, students. The kind of people who knew what it meant to fight for your health without a safety net. I stood at the podium, heart pounding. Hi, I'm Sasha, I began, and I want to talk to you about what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you don't. Heads nodded, eyes locked on me. I was 22 when I started saving for surgery. I had a condition that made every day feel like a war inside my body. I worked 2 jobs, I skipped meals, I planned every dollar, and then one day my parents emptied my account. A few gasps, a few heads shaking. They gave the money to my brother for a trip to Europe because they said he deserved a life-changing experience. I paused. That was the day I stopped being their daughter, and started becoming my own person. The room was still. I found another way. I got into a clinical trial. I rebuilt my life. And years later, when they came back, broke, desperate, asking for help, I gave them something else. I held up a folder, an invoice. A few people laughed. A few clapped. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I made them look at every dollar they took, every hour I spent in pain, every therapy session, every missed paycheck. I held them accountable, and I walked away. I looked around the room. You don't have to forgive people who never earned it. You don't have to carry their guilt. You can let go and still win. When it was over, people lined up to talk. A woman hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for saying it out loud." A man with tears in his eyes said, "I thought I was the only one." That night, Graham and I sat on the balcony, wine in hand, city lights flickering below. "You were incredible," he said. I leaned against him. I just told the truth. That's what made it powerful. My phone buzzed. I glanced down. Another message from Simone. "We made the final payment. I hope one day you'll let us explain." I looked at it for a second, then hit delete. Graham raised an eyebrow. "Another one?" "Yeah, she wants to explain." He sipped his wine. "Do you care?" I smiled. "Not even a little." A breeze rolled in, soft and warm. I looked out at the skyline, then back at him. "They taught me what family isn't," I said. He looked at me. "And what is it?" I reached for his hand. "Family is where love lives. So I made mine with people who never made me beg for it."